Cinema has been witnessed. That's right. After a while, I have finally gotten around to seeing the Chainsaw Man Reze movie. Now, if you paid attention to the channel recently, I did a rewatch of Chainsaw Man Season 1 in preparation, just because it has been, over 3 years since that show came out, and, the movie finally just came out. Of course, I did do reactions as that show originally came out, and then, of course, did the rewatch. I would recommend more watching the rewatch, but, But yeah, I was very excited to see this movie, obviously. I'll preface right away, I have never read the manga, still haven't. So, I went into this movie really not knowing at all what was going to happen, and I was thoroughly surprised. Of course, I knew tidbits, like, just me being around and stuff. Like, I knew some things that were going to happen. I tried to avoid trailers and whatnot as much as possible, but for the most part, though, a lot of what happened was a surprise. Definitely, though, once this movie comes out on streaming, I am absolutely going to do a rewatch of it here on the channel, just because it's one thing seeing it in theaters, because this review is just mainly going to be me recalling what I remember, but I definitely need to rewatch a lot of parts of this movie. But I guess just getting into it, I'm not really going to give like a synopsis of the plot or whatever. I'm just going to kind of go through like bit by bit what I remember, just sort of following like a synopsis I have pulled up here and just sort of giving my thoughts on it, because I do have a good amount of them. Well, I guess right out the gate, I'll just say spoiler warning, obviously, if you haven't seen the Reze movie, or if you just don't care, or if you've already read the manga. So let's just get right into it. I guess like first, before we get into plot, I'm gonna say, I guess I'd say new art style. This movie looks so much better than season 1. It's hard to say that, just because even after rewatching the show again, like, I still think the show looks phenomenal. Like, a lot of the CG work in it is not the best, so I'll give Mappa much more praise now. The style they chose for this movie, which is more in line with what they did for Jujutsu Kaisen season 2, it was absolutely phenomenal. Like, a lot of the CG that was in it was definitely hidden much better, obviously, than the show was. In fact, like, I can't really think of too many times in which like there were CG characters, but just like other than the animation and whatnot, the art style, like, it still looks pretty similar to what season 1 does. But I think the main thing is the color palette. Season 1 like had dealt a lot more with like brighter whites and whatnot, and like not really too much of like darker colors and whatnot, whereas this, the vibrance of it and like the brightness and the darkness, like, it was all mixed much better. Like, I'm sure there's people out there just like, hey, can we go back and redo season 1 now? Which, no, let's not do that. It'll definitely be jarring for people who maybe are just getting into Chainsaw Man, who go from like season 1 to the movie, and it's just like, whoa, because there's a clear difference. I mean, they had 3 years to hone it. Despite that, let's get into the actual plot. The movie pretty much picks up right where season 1 leaves off, which I was very happy with. Fairly recently rewatched the show, so going into it, I was just like, all right, cool. It picks up the day after, Denji, Power, and Aki all have like their night of like drinking and hanging out. It is kind of funny though, because like season 1 ends with like that music video type thing of like the 3 of them just walking around, and the movie then starts with another kind of music video of them like walking around and going to work and doing stuff. I will say though, Iris Out, goddamn that song. Because I was very curious, because that was the thing I was talking about, just like, I imagine the movie's gonna have like an opening for it, and then once it started playing, I was just like, oh yes. Like, Kickback will forever and always be one of the most iconic things, probably the song most attributed to Chainsaw Man. But Iris Out, I mean, it's by the same artist. Naturally, it does feel the same. It was perfect, because, I was curious if they were at all gonna do like either a remix or a redoing of like Kickback or just a new song. I'm glad it's a new song. Going into the future, whenever season 2 or whatever, if they maybe decide to do something more with this movie, I hope this song isn't just for this movie. Like, I hope they use it in future stuff. Give it an actual opening. That would be cool. But then we go from that to Makima, really the bulk of her in this movie, which is her and Denji's date. Well, before that, she has Beam, the shark devil, accompanying Denji, just like, you guys are gonna be working together, which, that sets up the fun bond and friendship that they grow over the course of this movie, mainly in like the final act, but we'll get to that. This movie really does well at hitting home like the crisis that Denji has over the course of this movie, just cementing just how in love he is with Makima, which I didn't really pick up on it in the movie, but like, is the date they went on her reward for Denji beating Katana? Because I know the overall thing is like her reward for him defeating the gun devil is gonna be like, oh, any wish or whatever, which, we get in this movie, he talks about like, oh, I'm gonna ask her to be my girlfriend and all that. It's just like, well, I mean, this movie really hits home, just like more of, my fears with Makima. I mean, to be fair, I know some stuff with the manga where it's just like, yeah, it's gonna go places with Makima, but I will say in this movie, at least with like the date they go on, this is the most human she's felt, just because, I mean, we do the whole thing where like they go all day like seeing a bunch of movies, and then like the final movie is where you actually see her cry. The way she acts with Denji in it too, it's just like, them talking talking about stuff and her like listening to his heart. I mean, it's just obviously the way she looks as well, just because, you know, we're used to seeing her with like that braided ponytail and whatnot, and then here like her hair's down and her in like casual clothes as well. So, you know, it adds to like the two sides of Makima that I think do exist, you know, just like the work Makima and then the real life one. Though both are equally as manipulative and dangerous, you know, it adds to that. But then we go from that, with Denji being more like, I'm so in love with her, to then him meeting Reze. Like, another thing I'll give to this movie, it starts and we're into it. Which, to be fair, the movie is shorter than I honestly thought it would have been. It's only about an hour 40, 100 minutes. Which, I mean, to be fair, we're coming from the Demon Slayer movie, which was like a 2.5 hour movie, to this. Which, to be fair, with the amount that's covered in this movie, it doesn't waste its time. I would have loved for it, honestly, to at least have been like 2 hours. I feel like it did well. But anyway, like getting into Denji meeting Reze, I remember leaning over to my friend once it showed like Reze's face. I was just like, we're so cooked. It's so over. I do really love, like, even though it's sort of fake by the end, you know, it's revealed that like Reze, you know, the whole time she was just pretending to be in love with Denji or whatever, just trying to get close to him so she could, you know, take his heart and all that. The movie at least does a good job of like the first act, I guess, building the relationship between the two of them. Like, it feels like two teenagers being young, because like you forget just like Denji's 16. Like, I don't know how old Reze is supposed to be. Well, she said she was in high school, so for the sake of it, I'd like to hope that at least she's 17 or something, just because I don't know if I could take another groomer allegation thing with this show. Well, I mean, she talked about how like she would have liked to have gone to school and whatnot, because I mean, Denji is like, he's so in love with Makima, who is a lot older than him. At least I'd like to think so. At the very least, it was fun like having Denji interact with someone more his age other than like Aki, and sort of experience like that young teen love kind of thing, you know, like they hang out at like the coffee shop. She's all like touchy-feely and whatnot and laughing at his jokes, and then we go into the very iconic, at this point, skinny dipping scene at the school. Of course, there was no way I was going to avoid that with the internet being what it was, but you know, actually getting to it and seeing it, I mean, it's weird to describe it as like a beautiful scene, but how it's done, it is well done. It's heartfelt despite the rest of the world being what it is. It does well because it sets up obviously a lot of what happens in the final act of the movie. I will say though, this movie had two stories sort of going on. Obviously the main focus was like Denji and Reze, just because obviously this is the Reze arc. That was the main focus, but the other side of the story, which I was really surprised how much was given to it, was the Aki and Angel story. Because I mean, looking at the poster obviously of the movie, it's like, okay, obviously we're gonna get some stuff with Angel. Well, I mean, it's Angel and Shark who really, you know, those two get a lot in this movie, though. I mean, Shark Devil, you know, Beam, a lot of that is just kind of like the bro friendship with Denji, and obviously he helps a lot in the final battle. But in terms of like the actual character of Angel, we got a lot more with him than I would have guessed. I think it's great like having Aki and Angel together, just because Aki at this point only has at most 2 years left to live, and he's assigned with Angel, who, you know, is someone who just by touching someone drains away their lifespan. The main thing is like Angel is so lazy and like doesn't really care, despite him being like one of the most powerful devils. That relationship is one that's really interesting, because like by the end of the movie, like Aki saves him and like goes out of his way to touch him, and just like he takes away 2 months of his life. And it delves more into like Aki's character, just like he doesn't want to see anyone else die, and it's just like, man, it sucks just because like, you know, by the end of this, obviously Aki's gonna die one way or another. He now has even less time. It just adds more to Aki's character as well, just like he's throwing away so much of his life just to kill the gun devil. He is willing to throw away more of that time to save people, save his friends. No more people need to die for this shit. I like how he like hugs Angel at the end as well. But going back to more of the stuff at the school, you know, Reze gets chased by that one slasher guy, and then like, you know, it cuts to her choking him out. You see more of like the real Reze in that moment, but you also get like that one part of her like in the rain with her face like all like angry and whatnot. I've been loving seeing the memes of that screenshot. But, you know, it sets up stuff with like the Typhoon Devil, which obviously again leads to more of the final battle. Then we go into the festival stuff, which is where everything really starts to kick off. There's the scene where Reze asks Denji to run away with her, where it's funny thinking back on that scene, because it's like, I'm sure in that moment she may be like, some part of her slipped out, just like, yeah, let's run away. But then obviously she's like, oh, you love someone, don't you? He admits that he likes her, but he also just like, but I also like Makima. But then we get into the reveal, obviously, that's just like Reze is the bomb devil. I love the how she transforms, because, you know, it's like, because, you know, Denji has the pull cord for the chainsaw, and she has a grenade pin on her neck which just explodes. I'll definitely say, in terms of like the devils and their powers, so far Reze is definitely my favorite, just in terms of like the utilization of her explosions, because it's not even just that, like, because obviously she's kind of like, you know, Bakugo, where it's like she just like can create explosions explosions and like fly around. She also like can transform her arms into like missiles and like a bunch of grenades, and like she has the dynamite skirt, which is cool. Because I mean, from like that point on, the entire rest of the movie is the fight against her. You know, she tries to kill Denji initially, and then Shark saves him, and then she goes to the one like branch of the Devil Hunters. It reminds me of Terminator, the police station, where she just shows up and just massacres everyone. And then the entire rest of the movie, pretty much from that point on, is the final act in the battle against Reze, which is just Mappa pulled no punches with that. It's arguably their greatest work. I mean, to be fair, like since having Jujutsu Kaisen season 2, there were a lot of parts of like the Denji Reze fight that very much reminded me of the Sukuna Maharaga fight, to the point where like there's trains like flying in the sky and they're like running off of them. It's like, oh my god, it was ridiculous from start to finish. And then I loved just the final standoff moment as well, Denji and her, and then like they both do their thing. And even before that, the application of Denji using the chains of the chainsaw, he puts them around Beam and like rides him like a steed, which I mean we saw like at the very end of the first season, like he used the chains to like wrap up the katana guy. I loved like in this fight, like him actually using the chains, because like he wraps up both him and her as they fall into the ocean. And then a very like end of Ava type of thing, like they wash up on the beach and then have like their final talk. And then like that's where Reze reveals just like, yeah, I never had feelings for you, it was all just because of the gun devil and her working with him or whatever. But then Denji, of course, he does the thing just like, I'll meet you at the cafe, like be there. And by the end it's like, okay, there was something there on her end, where, you know, because she tries to go there, but then she's met by Makima. That's where things get interesting for me, because I swear things I know about the future of Chainsaw Man, because even on the wiki here it says that like, oh, she's killed by Makima and Angel, and by all accounts she probably should have been. I swear some things I know about the future, I swear that she doesn't die. But how that scene goes, again, like I was talking about with my friend, like I already didn't know what Makima's power really was. I kind of had an idea, but then this is like, what is your power? Because she just like shows up in like a pile of mouses and just like speaks to her, and then like Angel's up top like just shooting spears at her, which I kind of figured that's how it was gonna go anyway, because I feel like Makima obviously wouldn't want Reze getting more involved with Denji. Though I am curious in whatever happens in either season 2 or whatever, the follow-up conversation between Makima and Denji after all that, just because I'm curious how Denji's gonna look at Makima going forward, just knowing that there was another woman. And then of course there's the post-credits scene, which is just kind of a funny, like, because Denji's there at the cafe, has the flowers, and then like Power shows up. It's funny ending it like that, just because I mean Power wasn't really in the movie that much, which I kind of figured was gonna happen, just because there's so many characters already in this. It's just like, yeah, some of them have to take a backseat. Though to be fair, I forgot to talk about it, but like in the battle there was, you know, the violence and Kobani were there, but you know, they played their part and it was kind of funny. It just kind of also put like at the end with Power, just like, does Power like Denji? I don't know. I've always viewed their relationship as more just like a sibling thing. It just also kind of reminded me just like, yo, Denji, I heard you and your girlfriend broke up, gonna hang out with you for a little bit or whatever. But overall, I feel like I didn't talk about a whole lot with the movie, but to be fair, that pretty much was the whole movie. The beginning date with Makima, Denji and Reze like hanging out and doing stuff, and then the fight, and then the post-credit scene. Really, it was just those things. Like there was obviously stuff in between all that. It was an 100-minute movie, so the pace was crazy, but to be fair, that was also the thing with the main show as well. It's like so much would happen episode to episode. I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with this movie. I imagine they'll probably just release it on streaming. I don't imagine they'll do a Demon Slayer where they chop it up and put it into episodes, just because I mean it would be like 3 or 4 episodes at most. I mean, I'm also curious to see what happens next, whether it be season 2. I think I did hear at some point that season 2 was announced or whatever. There's no official thing for season 2. Rumors are that it's greenlit, but obviously Mappa has a lot of stuff going on lately. And between Jujutsu Kaisen, hopefully Vinland Saga season 3. Overall, this movie was incredible. Definitely it's one where like I need to watch it again. My only gripes really is just like it's too short. And like I talked about it as well, like my other thing is just the character of Reze. Like it's talked about at the end that like, oh, she was like an experimented child and whatnot. I just feel like we didn't get a lot with like the real Reze, just because obviously the bulk of what Denji experienced with her was like the fake one. Though I'm sure like, though she won't admit it, there's probably some part of her it was real, you know, just like the chance to be a kid. Because I mean, even by the end she said just like, yeah, I kind of wish I could have gone to school with you too, Denji. I feel like this whole movie was ultimately her kind of getting her shell broken. Again, I swear in the future like Reze is still alive, though I may be wrong. I may be mixing it up with other characters. Definitely this will finally be my foyer. I will jump into the manga at this point, because Lord knows season 2 or wherever at this point, if someone everyone could please put down in the comments below where I should start, what chapter, like where does the movie leave off, so that way I can just go from that straight into that. I'm tempted to maybe do manga reactions just because I kind of want to start doing more of that, just because I think that'd be fun, just because I have a lot of ideas with stuff I want to do potentially with manga stuff, but that'll be for the future. For now, this was the Reze movie, or at least my review of it. Again, definitely in the future I will do when it's released on streaming. I would say maybe more like once season 2 is officially announced, or like there's a trailer or whatever, maybe I'll pick it up and rewatch it. It was a phenomenal movie. I've been waiting so long for it. I mean, me and a lot of other people as well. It did not disappoint, and let me know what you thought about the movie down in the comments below, and I hope you'll join me for many other videos of this sort, be the future anime reviews, reactions, gameplay, and everything else be coming out soon. So thank you for joining me on this. I'm Lancer. Thanks for watching.